take our rights. But that's not what happened on 9/11. This was a pure inside job. They blew up Building 7 in front of everybody. And Bob Mcilvaine, what is it like for you to see Geraldo Rivera start to tell the truth and say, oh, because the families are involved. You've always been involved. The families were there at the commission holding up signs saying lies, lies, lies. You were there. They ordered Sybil Evans, the FBI translator, not to talk. She heard, quote, the CIA in command of bin Laden on 9/11. She's broken her gag order, as you know. I mean, it's the same story. And what is it like for you now and your son that you lost? Tell folks briefly about him so they can personalize this and understand, to really start to see some headway get going here.
Well, I'll tell you, just can't believe how anxious I was going up there because, you know, this is what I do. This is what I've done since 9/11/2001. And, of course, the media just refuses to cover it. So when we got the call, it was just, it's all for Bobby. Again, to briefly talk about Bobby. Bobby was 26 years old. He had graduated from Princeton. He started work in New York, and he had just started work with Merrill Lynch, which was not in the towers, like it's a month and a half, 2 months before 9/11. And I am so interested in the towers, just not 7, but 1 and 2, because of the explosions, which, of course, NIST, which is the National Institute of Standard Technology, which investigated Building 7, and the 9/11 Commission, which I made 90% of, everyone just ignored the idea that there was explosions. Of course, you need explosions for demolition. And it's taken me, 4 or 5 years. It took me at least 4 or 5 years to finally track down what happened to Bobby, and I found out, talking to the doctors, I know his injuries. I have pictures of his injuries. And he was one of the bodies found immediately, one of the first 10 bodies, and he had died coming down. He had just gotten off the subway, walked over to Merrill Lynch at the last second, decided to go up on the 106th floor, but before, I think just as he walked into the lobby of the North Tower, he was blown up.
And now there's all these new NIST videos talking about how there were explosions going off, and that's what Willie Rodriguez and others have said, is that there were explosions going off before planes even hit, like seconds before.
Well, people have to understand, too, that you need explosions. And any demolition, you're going to have explosions to set the stage for the actual demolition itself. So there's a strong possibility because, again, the nature of my son's injuries were chest and face, severe lacerations all over the place, that I think he was walking in the doors before the plane hit, because certainly if the plane hit, he would have run. And if he had died, he would have had injuries in the back. So, but that's beside the point. So I had taken his body home that week, and it's taken me so long to find out exactly what did happen to him. So the explosions are a big key to me. And, of course, as a parent, I'm looking at this as, hey, these are the murderers of my son. And, of course, the press, the anger I have, it's profound anger. But I need that anger because it keeps me going, because if you don't have that anger...
What is it like when you watch Bush grandstanding on the pile?
It's brutal. It's just, you can't imagine. It's just, again, the only way I can tell you, if you have children and your child was murdered and they refuse to have an investigation, and yet you know who the murderer is. Well, and of course, a lot of 9/11...
And then the murderers grandstand as our saviors as well.
Right, but it's just, you just have to imagine that, though, that they're grandstanding. So, and you have to tone down your anger. But this is why a lot of family members won't speak up about it, because you got to find other means to cope with life. And to carry that anger around with you is just mind-boggling.
Absolutely, but the issue of the mainstream media having to start warming up to 9/11 truth, because 7 stands on its own, and if you look at the numbers and the polls, 9/11 truth has gotten stronger, not weaker, and I believe this is the beginning of the system having to capitulate, Bob.
Well, I really hope. I really, and I can't get optimistic, because you just hate being knocked down constantly. I mean, I've been doing this for years and years, and I get my hopes up, and, this is going to be the beginning. And I really do. I mean, it was a big, big deal. And we just got to keep after it. But I just, it's like taking baby steps. I just have to say, well, maybe this will be the thing that throws us over the top, because I just want so desperately the world to know that this is what governments do, and specifically in this case, our government. And Geraldo, he's good. He put it out there. I spoke my piece. I talked about the Tower 7. But he also let me say, I said it was an inside job. And he didn't come down, jump all over me, and call me all sorts of names. So that's progress. That really is.
No, it's big progress. Well, he couldn't sit there with two real human beings, a father and an engineer, and see the facts and then say hateful things to you. I have a lot more respect for Geraldo Rivera, but I could tell in my gut he was a truther. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Do you know someone who's a Constitution basher? Then here's the ammo you need to silence them once and for all. Introducing the crash course on the U.S. Constitution, how to argue with a liberal about constitutional issues and win every time. If you believe it's time we stop disgusting left-wing lies and start telling the truth about America's Christian heritage, this crash course for patriots is for you. Start neutralizing the liberal propaganda being force-fed in our schools, the workplace, and the media. The crash course on the U.S. Constitution is an audio power program that includes 6 CDs jam-packed with amazing information, insights, and truth that will shut the mouth of any lie-loving liberal. Order your crash course on the U.S. Constitution online at thefoundersplan.com and look for the free bonus kit. Call today, 1-877-327-0365. That's 877-327-0365, or go to thefoundersplan.com. For God's honest truth, go to thefoundersplan.com today.
The question is, where should the American people draw their line in the sand?
What have we got? A republic or a monarchy?
A republic is based on a constitution which protects minority rights.
Not democracy, not mob rule, 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
So they think they own our land, they think they own our water, children, our education, our money.
We have to define who we are and what we will tolerate.
Somebody's going to ask you what you did during the Patriot Uprising.
You have been warned.
We have the facts. We have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. We have common law. Knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so excited to be able to offer you Don't Tread on Me, Rise of the Republic. Tyranny is upon us, but liberty and the sleeping giant that is the American people is rising. A new tool in the info war. Don't Tread on Me. Order it at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139 and support independent, patriotic Liberty films.
As many people know, ever since President Nixon took us off the gold standard, the U.S. dollar has been devaluating. What people don't know, however, is how this directly affects your personal finances. Is there a way to protect your portfolios from losing value? The answer to all of this is gold and silver. They both have maintained their purchasing power for 6,000 years. If you had $100,000 in cash and $100,000 in gold and silver back in 1913 and kept them until now, your cash would have the buying power of only $4,800, but your gold and silver would have the buying power of $3 million. The answer to protecting your assets is simple. Call John Ballman today at 1-800-686-2237, extension 169. Get all your questions answered before your money is worth $0. Call 1-800-686-2237, extension 169. Take action today while we still accept paper dollars for gold. That's 1-800-686-2237, extension 169.
If you're not satisfied with how your skin is aging and want a healthy, youthful glow with immediate results, get a facelift from the inside out with Vizuri. Like a mini facelift, only without needles or surgery, Vizuri is a revolutionary youth rejuvenation skincare system that's proven to work or your money back. Vizuri is all natural and chemical and preservative-free. It helps reverse damage to complexions as a result of aging, stress, lifestyle, and pollution. Vizuri reduces skin pore size, firms, lifts, and tightens, leaving you with soft, silky, shiny skin and looking years younger. You may have seen Vizuri reviewed by CBS TV News. Now see how Vizuri is helping men and women get a fountain of youth facelift at avatarfacial.com and click on CBS TV News to see video of the amazing Vizuri skincare system. Call 888-203-5278. That's 888-203-5278 or go to avatarfacial.com, spelled AVATAR facial.com, and click on CBS TV News. Vizuri, the fountain of youth facelift.
Coming up in the next segment, we've got a 2-year-old video of a small child being grabbed by TSA and crying. So they've been doing this enhanced rape down for a long time. Bob Mcilvaine, what's your view on the TSA and the stuff going on?
Well, I just can't see myself getting on a plane again because I mean, talk about my anger, and I can't imagine someone searching me like that. I think I'd have to punch him in the mouth. I'm really worried about it because my wife definitely still wants to travel, and It's mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. And this, of course, goes back to 9/11. That's why 9/11 is so important. Everything that has happened. I mean, the world is just upside down. And what they do is, when you're talking about Al Qaeda, we have to realize this is all a myth. It's not a lie. It's become a myth. President Kennedy said it once. He said the enemy of truth is not the lie; it is the myth. When it does become a myth, and that's the bad thing of this. All they have to do is mention Al Qaeda, but no one has a clue what Al Qaeda is. And that's what again, the anger is just mind-boggling. I don't know how I'm going to go on a plane. I just don't know what will happen because I always worry about losing my temper like that. And
well, here you are with these goons, and it's an inside job, and everything they're doing is made up, built on a fraud. And Bob, I wish every time that there was a terror attack, I'm like, please let it be a real Muslim, because that's not very scary, knowing there's a few nuts out there. I mean, there's people getting mugged and killed every day in the town I live in of 1 million people, and they don't act like it's the end of the world when somebody gets killed. That's what goes on. But then if it's a Muslim blowing something up, it gets 1 million times scarier, and we've got to give all our rights up, and then every time you research it, it's the government behind it all.
Right. And that's how do you get that? How do we get that in the schools? I mean, it's understanding history, especially since the 70s when they developed this strategy of tension, when they've been working with these people forever. That's what people have to understand. It's easy to find a patsy to do these bidding things. Like, you have some joker on a plane that someone lets him on. He's from India, from the State Department. I mean, it's ridiculous. But, if you travel around the world, you realize that we especially in the United States, live in a bubble. And especially if you talk to people in Russia, they know it's propaganda. Here, we still think it's free press. And that's our biggest darn problem in this country.
I think that's starting to change. Well, it's BuildingWhat.org, and it's having a big effect, and folks have been supporting and getting the word out. And, Bob, I appreciate you popping in with us today. But, even if it takes 5 years, 10 years, we're winning in the court of public opinion. The government is losing its tool of staged terror. Even Glenn Beck last week said the government may stage in Oklahoma City. What's your take on that?
Well, I try hard not to listen to Glenn Beck. I mean, he's right. But I try to avoid watching TV.
Sure. But I mean, what I'm saying is, regardless, to stay in the game, to stay relevant, Geraldo Rivera is, talking about inside job and saying, boy, that's a good point. I see what you're saying. And Glenn Beck's talking about Obama blowing stuff up.
Right.
Well, I got news for you, Beck. They all blow stuff up. They blow stuff up in Argentina on September 11th, decades ago with Pinochet, or Chile, excuse me. Yeah. They do it all over the world. It's been declassified. Grow up and realize that Hitler did it, Beck. And stop attacking people like us that tell the truth.
That's right. That's what has, and some people have to be educated. And that's what it's all about.
We've only got a few minutes left, Bob, but any other points you'd like to impart to the listening audience?
Well, let me just briefly talk about Geraldo. That he talked to us a few minutes before we went on the air, and again, I was very anxious about it, and I just think he did a wonderful job. So. We just that's where the hope is, that the fact that he did that, and he wanted to talk about Bobby, but he actually explained to me. He said, "Look, we just don't have the time because there's certain key points I want to make," and the people behind the scenes, everyone just treated us tremendously. So that gives me hope. Well, and another quick story: we walked out of the studio, and Huckabee was there, and he was supposed to appear like in 10 minutes later, and he stood up, grabbed our hands, shook our hands, and he said, "This is astounding. I just can't believe it." So it's all about the media. The fact that the media has kept this hidden.
He
actually felt it. I didn't know this about Building 7, and it's a controlled demolition. If everyone in the world seen that, they say that is a controlled demolition. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. So therefore, this is where we're going to start this investigation. Someone had to demolish it. Let's go to the demolition companies. Let's talk to Juliana. This has to come, and then it'll steamroll into the whole 9/11 scenario, because the 9/11 people aren't going to let this be the only thing that happens as far as an investigation.
I tell you what, Bob, you're onto something key here. Stay with us a few more minutes before I get into the economy and this bombshell